Okay, Scott, so are we
You're live right now.
live?
You're streaming. Yep.
Awesome. Well, we didn't realize that we were live and streaming for a second. The rest of the guys are trying to move over here, I think.
Okay.
It kind of they were talking. I left the other meeting.
Right. So, for those of you that are maybe tuning in right now, this is the organization is NWA.Space or NWA.Space here in Northwest Arkansas. Clint Branham, who's on the board of directors, is
In Florida.
live at Kennedy Space Center, right? Yep. Okay. And we have Kent Martz with us. Uh, Kent is here with me here in Arkansas. Catherine's here with me in Arkansas. And Dustin is here with me in Arkansas. And as soon as we get Clint on, he will be live with us at from Kennedy Space Center. So here we
And
go.
there he is.
And there he is. Mm-hmm. So
I'm
what's
live.
out there, Clint?
Yeah, you're live from somewhere gorgeous, except you're not really there, so I'm not sure that
Yeah,
counts.
I'm live from the Visitors Center. Oh, so that's a Saturn V rocket right
Yeah,
there.
virtually.
That's an Apollo lander over my left shoulder. It's awesome being here.
There we go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a wall and a bookshelf.
I'm visiting from the moon. I don't know about you guys.
Well,
can't-
this is for me. This is a new computer, so I still haven't learned how to do that yet. It's one of those things on my list.
Want me to send you a picture from the rocket garden? You can be in the rocket garden.
Sure.
All right. So while we're getting a few of the technical details sorted out, let's talk about what our schedule looks like for this evening. Who's got a rundown of when things are going to be happening, roughly?
I have one on my phone. Hang on. Where is it?
I saw it earlier.
All right, so we're in the propellant load for another couple of minutes.
Yeah,
The
your
liftoff
is not running, Clint.
yeah, it's because I'm on a different I've minimized Zoom on my phone because I'm looking stuff up.
Oh, I see.
Let me pull it back. Let me pull my laptop up. SpaceX has a quick rundown on their site of what's going on.
Now, where are you exactly, Clint?
I shared my location with Kent. I'm in Titusville.
Yeah.
It hadn't come through yet.
Yeah. Why don't you share the? Oh, yeah. You don't see it.
It hadn't come through yet.
Okay.
So here's some of the comments from the
Oh.
chat here.
I got them.
What an exciting night! Hello from Libby. So Libby in the Stars is watching. James, the astrophotographer, is watching. Good evening, everybody. Dale Beasley watching NASA TV while I set up my 102. Andrew Corkill is watching. Edward Simone is watching. Nothing like watching NFL and a rocket launch.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now. So
Pekka is watching from Stockholm, Sweden. Nelson Court, yes, exciting to witness. Hello from the Grand Rapids, Manitoba, Canada. Stefan Del Pra, hello everyone again. Andrew Corkill out in California. The dog on the moon is awesome. Anne Bergen Diallo says, I'm visiting from my kitchen.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. So that pin is where the rocket is sitting, and you can see my little face on the beach there. So I'm about 11 or 12 miles away. The viewing area at Kennedy Space Center actually is obscured by trees, so you can't see the rocket sitting on the pad, but you can hear across the river.
So this morning, Clint, you were where up?
It's Tylenda, beach, which is that bridge that goes across there, where you've got that triangle shape.
Right here.
Yeah, it's labeled on the map.
It's got to be like right here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's down further south. Yeah, so you see where that triangle shape is? Go to the right of that. No, right.
Right here.
Right there.
So was that not a public beach?
That is a public beach, but it closes at 6 p.m.
And they kick you out.
Yep, they kick you out. It's a national wildlife refuge.
Gotcha. So a daytime launch, that would be a good spot.
Yeah, in fact, I tried to get the one Friday from there, but I didn't find out about it until after it had already closed as a precaution for the launch.
So for you out there, it is 7:08, correct?
Yes.
So
Joe Eden says, does this program promise to be out of this world?
So
Well-
you can see the steam coming off from the fuel load right now.
Okay,
right, I was about to
let's
say
stop
they're
sharing your
fueling
screen.
second stage.
Okay, and we're going to switch over to Clint's video here.
So Clint, this is your cell phone looking at your camera screen, right?
Yeah. So this is just a real cheap little DSLR I've had forever, and it's got a real cheap kit lens on it, but that's a live view.
How far away are you?
I think I'm about 11, 12 miles, something like that.
Okay.
So even at that distance, 11, 12 miles, will you be able to hear and feel the rocket taking off?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I like I said, I was here for the Delta Heavy launch on Friday, or not, it was an Atlas launch, not a Delta launch. And it was much quieter than I assumed it was going to be until I realized that I was 14 miles away. So it's definitely still very loud. You can see here the arm has been retracted. That line there is the crew access arm.
So when are the astronauts already in the already in the crew module, or are they going to be loaded later?
No, they've been in for
So
several hours.
Yeah, they went in. So it's just after 7 Eastern here. They went in at like 4:30 Eastern.
And they'd had a problem. I was watching when they did the capsule seal and they pressurized it. They had a leak, and they opened the capsule up and apparently lubricated one of the seals and did something else and got everything working. And
They said that one of the seals was folded wrong. There was some debris in it, so they cleaned it off, lubricated it, and everything's working fine now.
And then they did 2 more tests, and both of them, it was sealed.
So it was FOD is what they call it, which is otherwise known as foreign object debris.
Yeah, and I was in the Navy, and whenever we'd have any kind of aircraft launch or anything like that, we would walk the flight line looking for FOD, because even the tiniest little bit of bolt or grain or something that can get caught in an engine of an aircraft could cause catastrophic issues. So I can imagine what little particles can do to a literal spaceship.
Yeah.
So what time are we looking that they're going to be starting the countdown? Like, what's our count for right now?
T-minus 16.
Liftoff is at 7:27.
So it's T-minus 15 and T-minus 16 less.
And count. Okay.
Yeah, so we're 15
so
minutes out.
I've got the mission control audio in my car too, so I'll be in and out a little bit.
So Clint, how many people are there? Are you on a beach or in a parking lot or what?
I'm at a public parking lot right next to a beach. There's probably 40 or so cars here.
Turn your light back
so
on.
Most people are sitting in their cars. There's a few that are out between the cars, but with all the COVID stuff, everybody is a little anxious to actually be out and about.
What kind of a parking lot is it, Clint?
It's a grass field.
So how'd you find it?
As I was so what happened is I had tickets at the Kennedy Space Center for their launch, and I was at a museum yesterday talking with a guy who takes launch photos professionally, and I just asked him, said, hey, where's the best place to do this launch? This is what we're doing. This is what we want to do. This is what I've got. And he said, oh, no. Don't go down there. You can't. There's trees in the way. You can't see the launch from there. And yeah, for sure enough, you can't see the horizon from the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Center. You're limited about 10, 15 degrees above the horizon. So you can see the launch, but you're going to miss the first, 5 or so seconds. So from here, you can almost see the base of the rocket sitting on the pad. So you're further, but you get a better view.
So now you had a ticket to something, correct?
Yeah, so NASA is selling, they're calling them launch experience tickets. So right now, Kennedy Space Center is essentially, it's limited to, you have to buy a ticket ahead of the time. And then they sell these launch tickets, which are, instead of being for a specific day, they are for the day of the launch. And so I bought a ticket for the day of the launch. And so I couldn't get in until today. So I went in, and it was very interesting because a very large portion of the park was shut down. Most of the food vendors were shut down. They didn't have any of the stuff where you can drive back in the area, go tour the old command center, or see the Saturn V or things like that. It was just things in the immediate open area of the park. And they had severely limited the number of people that were allowed in, to the point where walking around through the park, I was seeing the same groups of people over and over again. So that was interesting also.
Hey, Dustin, if you've got another computer, you might want to go into the other room and just make sure people are getting the message and not coming in and just sitting there waiting for something to happen.
I don't have another computer at the moment.
Let me see if I can figure something out.
I did pick up a very cool souvenir that I'm happy with, is the mission patch here.
Oh, cool. I'm a patch junkie.
Yeah, I got just a lot of little souvenirs to give to people. I got these little pins too.
So Clint, this is your first trip down, right? That you've for a launch.
Yes.
Is that the live image inside the capsule?
Yeah, that looks big.
Can they see you from inside the space capsule or not?
I assume it has windows.
Yeah,
but
wave.
I don't know, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the really cool things going through the IMAX theater at Kennedy Space Center. You exit out the side, and then they have some of the mock-ups that they use for training for the Starliner and the Orion and that kind of thing. And they have a Dragon, a Crew Dragon, or a Cargo Dragon, I think it was, mock-up. But it scorched, so I don't know that it's actually a mock-up. It may actually be one of the articles that flew.
That's cool. Abigail's watching. Can you get me a patch? If so, I'll pay for it when you get home. This is Ann Burt. Oh, Ann's asking, can you get her a patch?
I am planning on going back in the morning for any souvenirs that were missed. So They open at 10.
I'm sure they're pretty picked over.
By the way, so I went ahead and edited our event listing on Facebook to disinclude the webinar.
Okay.
Did you send them to this meeting so they can get in and talk to us?
I can't join 2 Zoom meetings at the same time.
All right, so we are
You can go
about
and give
3 minutes away from the engine chill prior to launch.
Okay.
So part of the interesting thing about this mission is they named the capsule Resilience, in part because of how this year has gone. And this is just a symbol of, you know, in spite of everything, we're still moving forward.
So does anyone have any interesting facts about this rocket or this mission that they could share for the live stream?
Hang on, Dustin. I just tried to get into that meeting. It says waiting for the host to start the webinar. I don't know what to do.
Let me go take care of that. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Dustin was asking about interesting trivia. I mean, I'm sure most people are aware, but some people may not be, that this is the first operational mission to the International Space Station, first operational mission, period, to launch from American soil since the Space Shuttle program was decommissioned. Now, there was a test launch of the Dragon capsule back in April, but that was not considered an operational mission. That was a final proof of concept to prove that the design worked. So this is the actual full crew. They're sending 4 people. They're up for, I think it's a 6-month stint, and they're actually joining the International Space Station crew.
And the rockets, if they recover them, have been authorized to be reused in the next launch. NASA has agreed to use that. So
Really?
if they're refurbished, then they will be the first reusable manned mission items.
In fact, the Crew 2 launch, which I believe is currently scheduled for February, maybe, it is already slated to reuse the existing demo capsule from last year. So it will be a reused launch.
Not only is it the first operational, but this is also the first certified commercial launch, and that means that it was certified by the FAA.
Yes.
Imagine the engineering it's taken to create a situation or create equipment that can withstand the rigors of launch and re-entry, at least for the capsule, and then be reused. You know, let alone the rockets, which are
Crazy.
launched and then come back down.
It's like science fiction, you know?
It really is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we won't see the rockets land tonight. They are flying out to sea to land on the I think
The
it's
barge.
just read the instructions. I think is the ship.
Right.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So the return to launch site is actually just over that way, which that is something that I would love to see at some point. But
See those both two coming down next to each other.
mission audio just said stage 2 fuel load is complete.
And from the test flight
Aye.
that we were talking about, they upgraded the solar panels on the capsule because of things that they learned during that launch.
So the next thing we have coming up in just under a minute is Dragon transitions to internal power.
So of course, it can't launch if it doesn't run on its internal power, because it takes power to, you know, navigate and do all of the things. Sure, it can lift off without the internal power, but once it gets moving, we need that. That's why we have to transition before launch.
To make sure everything's working before we're not just like, oh, hey, we're up in
There
the
was the
sky.
Dragon is on internal power.
So what is the power source of the Dragon rocket? Like, what's the internal power source? Is it running some sort of like nuclear engine? Is it batteries? Is there somebody's got a Volkswagen under the hood? What's going on?
It's a combination of batteries and fuel cells, I believe. So most, no human certified rocket is going to be nuclear powered, because that you have to get special permission to have nuclear powered rockets, nuclear powered rovers even. It's very illegal under international law to launch radioactive stuff into space. So,
Boom. Bad plan.
Oh yeah,
We've launched
absolutely.
but we've launched plutonium powered missions.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
use the low powered stuff. They talk about it extensively in the Martian book, where they have low powered nuclear engines to do a little bit of heating, a little bit of stuff like that. But yeah, those aren't the norm for these types of missions.
and even those are radioisotopic thermal generators. And so what they are is just a big lump of plutonium that decays
Right.
and generates heat. And then there is a thermal generator that takes that heat and turns it into electricity.
So it's not the same as the thermal or the nuclear generator or the nuclear power plants that we have on Earth that function very differently.
Yeah, the nuclear powered submarines and aircraft carriers are completely different, and the power bands are insanely different too. The nuclear powered submarines are just crazy. The ones they use for the plutonium lumps that we're talking about, they're just they're a completely different beast.
So we're at T-minus 3 minutes, 30 seconds. They're going to
Yeah,
start retracting
I'll-
the strong back.
Yeah. So I'll get the camera out to see that.
There we go. Out from they started moving the strong back out of the way.
So, have we talked about what the mission of this rocket is?
By
Well-
the mission, it's to get 4 people to the ISS.
Are they
Safely.
also doing a resupply mission with stuff? I mean, obviously they wouldn't just send 4 people and nothing else. But is it a supply mission? Is there more stuff going on?
I don't believe that
Yeah.
it's a full resupply mission, but they are probably taking some things.
Yeah, every crew launch they take things, but they actually had a resupply mission to the ISS just recently. I don't recall when, but it's been fully supplied not too long ago.
Probably a turkey or 2 on that mission if I were a betting man. Maybe some cranberry sauce or something.
Turn back on.
It's like a pretty good cloud.
So
See some venting coming off the rocket.
we have 4 astronauts on there, 3 American and 1 representing Japan.
So the pilot, this is his first mission. The other 3 astronauts have been space alumni or are space alumni.
Yes, but Victor Glover is the pilot. He already has like 3,000 hours on every kind of space aircraft you can imagine. So he's not new to flying, just new to flying in space.
1 minute, 15 seconds. Of course, the feed we're seeing is delayed.
Yeah. Scott, could you try to pin Clint's video feed?
I can
Well,
go into
right now, you're not gonna be
I
able
can
to
go
see
speaker
anything.
view, and I can pin wherever he is. He's
Yeah, don't worry about it right now. Whenever we get video from him again, that'll be great.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to swap out my camera lens because
Hurry, you
I
got
don't want to
50
try and
seconds.
track the thing.
You got 50 seconds, 40
Yeah,
seconds.
but even when you pin
We'll
it,
swap.
Dustin, it whoever speaks automatically gets the video.
Got
Okay,
it.
All
so
right, here we go. Here we go.
Not
Here
on
we go.
mine. I pinned it myself.
Hang on. They're lighting it off.
All right, everybody be quiet so Clint can show off what he's got.
Say something, Clint.
Can you see?
Oh my goodness.
There it goes. Yeah. So, can't hear the audio yet.
That's a great picture right there with the people in the foreground.
Yes, it is. That's
Yeah, it is.
beautiful.
It's a beautiful launch. It was only about a 50% chance of going off as expected. Now we're starting to get a little bit of the sound from the launch. There it is. I don't know if y'all can hear that.
Yes.
Yeah, so that gives you an idea of how far away we are. It took about 53 seconds for the audio to reach us.
And how loud is it?
It's loud. It's more like a bass rumble than anything.
Could you feel it?
Yeah, it's very, like, you can very much feel it in your chest.
Okay, I get dibs on the next trip.
Reposition here.
Can you still hear it?
I can still hear it. Yeah.
We should be past max Q.
That is a beautiful trail. I don't think I can zoom my camera in here. All right, so the plume just changed colors. It
20 seconds.
looks. We just lost the plume, so that may be first stage cutoff.
Miko.
So we should see SEP here. All right, there it went. All right, there's separation. Here's stage 2.
A big smile on my face.
That's so amazing.
I'm gonna hang out here just to see if I can catch the boosters coming back down. We won't be able to see them land, but we may be able to see the rocket flare. I don't know if you can see, but the plume is incredibly wide now.
We can't see the plume.
No.
Let me see if I can get it with the camera.
Is that the phone right now?
Yeah, this is just my phone. Nah, it looks like it's too dim for the camera. I could do a long exposure, maybe. Do a 5-second exposure, see what that looks like.
here you go.
There it is. So you can see the rocket moving there, and then the plume.
Oh yeah, check it out.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, cool.
So we can still see the plume here from the ground.
That is cool.
So, yeah.
So how long is it going to
Still-
take the astronauts to reach the International Space Station from takeoff to space station? How long?
It's usually about a day or so, something like that. So they have to launch and then basically chase the ISS and catch up with it.
It's just astrophysics. What's the problem?
Right. When the astronauts entered the spacecraft, hours ago. The ISS was over Saudi Arabia, I believe. That's what I
It-
read.
roughly 24 hours after achieving orbit.
Yeah, and it'll take them 20 minutes or so to achieve orbit.
Pardon my ignorance, but I don't remember I don't remember seeing a lot of space on that crew module because what we see, what the cameras show, obviously, is just the front flight station. Is there more to the crew quarters there? Because I remember when Bob and the other astronaut, when they had the shuttle launch or the rocket launch earlier, they didn't have very much space. Is it the same sort of setup as the previous launches, where they just very tight and confined?
Yeah, it's very small. I've got some pictures. I can't share them from my phone, unfortunately, but I do have some pictures of the Boeing Starliner. They had an interior set up there. And so I got some pictures where you could see the inside there, and it's very cramped. But I mean, the station or the spacecraft is not designed for long-term living. It's designed to get you to the International Space Station.
Do we know if there's a bathroom in the crew cabin there?
They have environmental controls in their suits.
So they have space diapers, basically.
Something like that. Kent, I think you're muted.
The ISS just crossed into the Indian Ocean going over Saudi Arabia. Basically went over the western portion of the Red Sea
Okay.
and has crossed just offshore now.
So for the rest of... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I can still see the rocket. It's definitely dim enough that you have to use averted vision to see it, but it is still there.
Okay, so people, you'll be able to see it tonight at 11:44 p.m. I would presume Central Standard Time. It's going to be a heck of a pass, 78 degrees above the horizon. November the 16th at 10:29 p.m. November the 17th at 11:18 p.m. November the 18th, November the 19th. So it's going to be a whole series of passes over the next, 7 or 8 days.
That's
So
the ISS.
that's the ISS,
That's in
right?
Northwest Arkansas.
That's correct. So basically tomorrow we may be able to see them flying in tandem if they haven't docked yet by 11 o'clock tomorrow night.
I think they should have docked by that late, but I'll look at the I've got the official timeline on my computer when I get back in the car.
So the whole concept is just super interesting to me. How when you're looking at the perspective of the shuttle or the ISS, and they're docking towards each other, you get a perspective that one is stationary and the other is moving toward it. But what you don't realize from those perspectives is both of them are moving at about 1,000 miles a minute or something like that. I forget the exact speed of these things they're going, but they're incredibly fast. And both of them are rocketing through the sky, and they're trying to match velocity to be near zero to each in comparison to one another, so that they could safely dock.
292 miles a second.
Yeah. The speeds are insane.
Yeah, that's known in the industry as hella fast.
Think about that. That's covering the entire state of Arkansas in 1 second, basically. Something along that line.
Yeah, I remember an old saying, that song, that I will walk 500 miles and I will walk 500 more. By the time you sing that portion of the song, the International Space Station will have traveled almost exactly 1,000 miles. That is booking it.
Okay, Clint, so was it worth the trip?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So is it everything you thought it would be? It was less, more?
So I sent a message to some folks after I got to Kennedy Space Center this morning. Like I said, they were shut down most of the stuff. You know, real limited with what you could do. And I told some folks after maybe 5 minutes in the first exhibit that this alone is worth the price of the ticket.
Was it worth the 24-hour drive?
That's one of the pictures
Yeah, I think so.
you sent me this morning.
Yeah.
So walk us through some of the exhibits that are there at Kennedy Space Center that you found the most interesting, Clint.
So the first exhibit that I went through is the Astronaut Hall of Fame, the American Heroes exhibit, and it starts off with just like a discussion of who is a hero, what is a hero, what does a hero do, and they've got some examples. You know, people are saying, oh, well, my hero is you know, my dad, or my hero is my mom, or my hero is my teacher, that kind of thing. And then it goes through and them talking to astronauts about what is an astronaut's hero. And, you know, you've got astronauts now that they're growing up, their heroes were astronauts because we've been doing this long enough for that to be a thing now. So that was very interesting. And then they go through, apparently the hall was created by the original Mercury 7. It was their idea to say, hey, let's honor these people. So it starts off with the Mercury 7, and then there's the Gemini astronauts, and then the Apollo astronauts, and then it moves into the Skylab and shuttle and everything. And that's a very, very cool exhibit. They have the Atlantis Experience exhibit where you can stand within 5 feet of the space shuttle Atlantis. Not a reproduction, the actual space shuttle.
Did you go through that movie, Clint? Were they doing the movie? Did you take that tour where they do the movie
So
and you think you're looking at
most of the movies are in 2D instead of 3D. The IMAX movie was still in 3D, but yes, we did that. It's kind of a sweet story. There was I was the second group in line, and the person in line in front of me was a young lady with her elderly father, and she was talking to the ticket girl and mentioned that he had some kind of dementia where, you know, he had problems remembering things. And we sat down, watched the whole video where we're getting ready to go into the second part for the second video, and it ended and it pops up like the shuttle logo there, and he got so excited. He goes, "That's our boys." And she was trying to get him to go into the second room, and he kept saying, no, we got to watch this. That's our boys. That's what we came here to see, because he remembered that logo.
Cool. So
that was pretty cool.
So were you in that movie where you think you're looking at a picture, but the screen's turned and they raise the screen up and Atlantis is right there behind you? Did you see that?
I had heard that before, so I knew that's what was going on, but it still was very cool to see. It
gave me chills when I realized, wait a minute, that's the shuttle right there. And literally you can almost reach out and touch it. A long arm basketball player could probably touch it. You're that close to it.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
They have a model of the Hubble there. They have an area where they've got the shuttle cabin split open so you can walk through. That was closed because of COVID. But yeah, they had all kinds of stuff there. There was the what?
Did you do the shuttle simulator?
I didn't do the shuttle simulator. I was trying to figure out what we were doing tonight, so I didn't want to get. I was trying to hit all the different things before we did that. So one of my favorite things is you're walking past the cafeteria. They've got just different signs on the thing there. One of them it just says "We are go for lunch," and that just struck me as hilarious when I saw it.
Go for lunch.
Even astronauts have senses of humor.
Maybe that was a typo.
I try to share my screen with the astronauts in it. Let's see if we can get that. I don't know if that's possible. We'll see.
So Greg Turner is very jealous of you.
There we go. That's them.
So Ann asked Kate, if they match speeds, is it considered a relative stop? Relatively speaking, yes.
Yes. I mean,
Well, it's think of it like this: if you're in a vehicle and you're driving down the road well, hopefully not driving, hopefully you're a passenger, but if you're riding in a car that's going 50 miles an hour and you toss a ball in your hand up in the air and catch it, the vehicle and that ball are traveling at 50 miles an hour relative to each other. But from your perception, you're just tossing the ball straight up in the air, when in reality, you're tossing a ball straight up in the air as it's traveling forward at 50 miles an hour.
So if a fly flies from the back of a car that's going 50 miles an hour and it flies to the front of the car, to you, it's just moving, whatever speed, but it's really moving forward at 51 miles an hour. It's got to be going faster than 50 miles an hour to be moving forward.
Right.
In the
I
car.
think the Mythbusters did a really interesting thing where they had a truck that was driving at a given speed, let's just say 60 miles an hour, and they fired a cannon out of the back of that truck that fired, and that cannon would fire at 60 miles an hour. So the cannonball basically looked like it was just dropped from the back of the vehicle.
Yep.
So yeah, relative speeds, yeah.
right. And they won't really truly stop until they lock together. Because until that point, they have speed relative to each other.
And we all think of space flight in the version of Star Wars, because in Star Wars they show the X fighters all making these sweeping turns like jet fighters do. In reality, they turn around and fire the thrusters and then go the other way or whatever. So we have this flawed vision of what space travel really is, because of they get it wrong in Star Wars.
Right.
Yeah,
And
they
your
treat it like
hand-
aerodynamics.
Your hand still got it wrong because they don't turn around. They simply fire the other thrusters and go the other direction.
Well, true, that's what I'm saying. They can back up.
Right.
Right.
Well,
but-
and most of them can do, whatever.
Yeah, they're not limited to
It doesn't really turn.
Yeah, in Star Wars, they use a lot of the same physics as like an airplane would, when in space, you're not limited by that same sort of restrictions.
because
But
of
when they
no gravity.
Those three
Well-
display panels monitoring their journey to the International Space Station and where they are in the world right now, or over the world, I should say.
That's good.
When Star Wars started, the general public didn't understand space flight, and so they made it look like something that people would understand.
What I thought was super interesting was Stanley Kubrick's take on space travel and how eerily accurate a lot of his shots were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even before,
Even today is still. I mean, you study it hard. The special effects are incredible. They really are.
yeah, that's how we faked landing on the moon in '69, right?
Had Stanley Kubrick do it.
Actually, if Stanley Kubrick had done it, it would have looked too good.
Yeah.
It would have cost way more.
Okay, they just opened up their visors.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
John,
I'm
this
sharing the
is
screen
just
right
took
now
the
with those
breath away.
guys.
I mean, we could just turn right around in our seats and watch. We got up away from the desk to get a better look, and then we actually could see the booster coming back.
So there was one space movie I saw that in the first 10 seconds, I almost got up and walked out of. And it's been a fairly recent movie. Anybody know what it was?
Nope.
You mean like
Gravity.
I was gonna say
Julia
Interstellar or
Roberts.
Gravity.
No, that wasn't Julia Roberts. That was
No,
Blindside.
he was in Speed.
I was sitting there, and they show the space station orbiting the wrong direction.
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra
Yeah.
Bullock.
yeah, but Sandra wasn't the one making it go backwards.
That's the only reason I watched the movie. Instead, I was like, I almost started yelling, "No, that's wrong!" because
It's a fiction movie.
they could have gotten the science right. It didn't affect the movie to get it right.
They were supposed to put you on the edge of your seat, which they did.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Edge
like
of
all these
rage.
shows. It's like all these shows where they show the sunset with the moon in it, and the moon's moving the wrong direction. It just makes my head explode. I yell at the TV.
Oh, even the Daily Show, they had Neil deGrasse Tyson on there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, your globe spins backwards."
That's awesome. Hey, your dog's digging a hole.
Don't worry, he's got a lot of room
Okay.
to dig.
All right.
He's
So,
taking
Clint,
it to Earth.
what are your thoughts, Clint?
Well, I have learned quite a bit, and I'm ready for the next one. So,
Is it as addictive as Eclipse, or is Eclipse more addictive?
it's different. So, I mean, this is very, very cool. It's a monument to humans' achievement.
Oh yeah. It's historic.
Whereas an eclipse is a natural phenomenon. So I mean, they're probably similar scales of in terms of like sense of awe, but they're different reasons for it.
So now that we started space flight again, human space flight from the United States, I'm going to say this now. We have to prepare ourselves for the eventuality of a failed launch or a failed mission.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back when the International Space Station, when the GSA did a hazard analysis, they predicted like 2 catastrophic failures every 100 flights. And they basically nailed it. And I haven't seen a report on what they've done for these, but sooner or later there is going to be a catastrophic failure. And, you know,
Right.
it's sort of like I equate it to, you know, when people sailed off, when Columbus sailed off from Spain going west, there could have easily been a catastrophic failure, and they never come back, and no one ever knows what happened to them.
And their percentage of catastrophic failures and never returning was way more than 2 in 100.
Yeah, look how many of the Spanish gold fleets were swamped by hurricanes. Something simple that we can predict and get out of the way of now. You know, the analysis is predictable. Sooner or later, there's going to be a failure, and I would hope that we can come to national terms with it, and not have this.
This is replaying video from earlier.
Yeah. That's what the thing that a lot of people don't understand is that space travel, especially getting out of our atmosphere, is incredibly dangerous. You're literally putting people on the back of a rocket and shooting them up into space. Very advanced rockets, right? And we've done this a lot of times, but it's still an incredibly dangerous voyage. But fun fact, and I don't know if you call this a fun fact, do y'all know what the most deadliest job in America is? The #1 profession for deadliest job.
Crab fisherman.
President of the United States.
President of the United States. More presidents have died as president than any. More people have died as president than any other per number of people in that
Per
profession.
capita. Yeah.
Yep.
I can see that. I can also see that the numbers are very small.
The
Yeah,
sample
very
size-
small sample size. Yeah, exactly.
Right. But you have the same type of thing here. You have a very small sample size in terms of number of people that go to space.
Yeah, we even send a lot of them up there multiple times. The crazy lunatics.
I'm in there. I'm I've applied for the next national astronaut.
So one of the things that got brought up at the during one of the NASA exhibits today was the fact that when the Wright brothers launched their airplane, that nobody had done that before, and even through World War II or World War I, there just wasn't a lot of publicly available air travel. He said, and then commercial places got involved, and it went from being just a hobbyist and a government thing to, well, now most people that come to Cape Canaveral fly and don't even think about it. And so this NASA speaker was basically correlating it with we're at the point now where for the last 50 years, rockets have been the domain of hobbyists and government, which is exactly how air travel was before commercial companies got involved. And now commercial air travel is the safest way to travel that there is. And so his perspective was basically the companies getting involved here have an incentive to drive the cost down and make it incredibly safe.
Otherwise, they won't make any money.
So
Right.
I just looked it up. As of January 2018, 553 people had been to space, had been into orbit. 556 people had reached the altitude of space. So a total of 18 people have died either while in space or in preparations for a space mission.
I was about to say that's going to include the Apollo 1 numbers.
So what is that in percentage to people just flying in aircraft?
Oh, incredibly large because the sample size is so small.
Yeah,
Well, that was
Yeah.
558.
558 and 18 have died.
In 2018, and 18 have died. That was in 2018. 4 fatalities from the Soviet Union, at least the ones they acknowledge.
So that's what, 3.2%?
3.2%.
Yeah. So yeah, imagine if every time you flew an air flight, just a normal flight from LA to San Francisco or LA to New York or whatever, you had a 3.2% chance of crashing and burning. That'd be incredibly dangerous. I wouldn't take those odds. But if I was going to space, I would take those odds
If I
right
could
now.
go to Mars, I'd take those odds tomorrow.
So
It's adventurous.
We have some comments here. Philip Anderson says, I give up everything for a chance to die in space. Becca says, let us not forget Kennedy's words because it is hard.
Yes,
Yep.
Right?
Not because it is easy, but because it is
because
hard.
it is hard.
That's right.
Because it pushes us to be our best and to work together.
Philip Anderson says, I just want to go space mining for free for the rest of my life.
Well, and we have to remember what a lot of this stuff actually means in the large scale of things. Like we've got Clint was talking about how walking through Mercury, Apollo, and the shuttle missions and building upon the science and the technology that we use to get to outer space and to the moon, and now how we're gearing up to put men and women on Mars. And we have to remember that this is all a building. This is all standing on the shoulders of giants. This is building momentum to greater and greater things. If we want to, as humans, leave our solar system and go to other stars and other galaxies, we have to keep pushing forward. And the way that we do that is encouraging the next generation of scientists, engineers, mathematicians, and technologists to want to get into the field of space and science and all these really cool things that some of us consider nerdy stuff, but it's just the stuff that we all here on the live stream and NWA.Space view as part of our identity, of who we are. And that's why we like doing this, these broadcasts and these outreach events and stuff like that, is because we want to encourage you, the viewer, and you, the people that you know, to get educated and get degrees and get experience and be in the profession of STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. And one of the ways that we're helping to do that for Northwest Arkansas is to build a science center right here in Northwest Arkansas, a science center that Northwest Arkansas deserves. So if you're tuning into this live stream or watching us or recording later, it would mean so much to us if y'all could spend just a couple of minutes and go check out our website, NWA.Space. And if you have any extra time or money, we would very much like you to become a contributor, a sustaining contributor to help build this science center. So if you think that this is a worthy cause and you think STEM is an amazing thing to get behind and you want a science center for Northwest Arkansas, please consider going to our website and becoming a contributor. going to have all kinds of stuff coming up once COVID-19 starts to wane a little bit. Once it starts dying down a little bit, we'll have more in-person events. We'll do more star parties. We'll be doing more kind of education-based stuff, and we're going to be doing a whole lot of really neat stuff. And we really would like your help. And with these memberships that you can buy on our website, you can get a lot of free tickets to these events as part of your contributing, your continuing contribution. So thank y'all for tuning in. We might still chat here for a little bit, but I just wanted to say that piece because all of this is for a great cause for NWA.Space, and we just hope that you can help us out. And thank you very much for tuning in.
So right now, Scott's got the video running.
Yeah,
it's not just your money, but your time as well.
Right.
Before COVID started, we had more requests for outreach from schools and Rotary and groups saying, please come and talk to us about a whole number of topics than we could do because we just don't have enough volunteers. So your time would be valuable too. Then crazy COVID, but
right. Any way that you can help is really amazing. If you're not able to contribute, if you can share some of our posts on Facebook, like our Facebook page, engage in our conversation, join in our live stream, drop us a line every now and then, or just say, hey, we would really like it if we see some stuff about this, or I really want to know about this. Anything that you can think of to interact with us and help us out is such a great help to getting the Science Center going. If you want to, and we need community support. So anything you can do, whether it's financial donation, time, if you want to help us out when we start doing live events again, in-person events, if you want to be a volunteer, anything you want to do, contact us. We want to hear from you.
And part of our goal also is like this Science Center we want to build. This is not us wanting to, impose our views of science and that type of thing on Northwest Arkansas. This is a Science Center for Northwest Arkansas. So if you have ideas about events that we can do or live stream type stuff that we can do, if there's something you want to do specifically, let us know. Like, this is not our thing. We don't have a monopoly on science in Northwest Arkansas. This is for everyone here.
And which sciences are you passionate about? We are obviously all passionate about space, but I'm also passionate about a lot of other things, rocks and plants, and it's all just amazing. A couple of these guys are passionate about computer science. So there's lots of different branches to science.
Engineering is a science.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There's science behind absolutely everything.
I can talk about the science of a marshmallow.
Yeah.
So Dustin can talk about the science of eating a frozen solid marshmallow.
Man, that, like I was still saying before, if y'all haven't checked out our re-upload of our live stream of the liquid nitrogen thing, I am still finding chunks of gummy bears and bananas in my house almost every day. Okay, so
and they're not frozen now.
No, they are definitely not frozen now. They are, that banana's really starting to stank.
Maybe a tomato next time.
Ooh, that'd be really nice and crystalline.
Yeah, maybe outside next time.
No, that ruins it.
No, it doesn't. What it doesn't ruin is the next day where I'm having to clean up half-rotten bits of fruit throughout my house. That would be great. And the funny thing is, I put a drop cloth down of a fairly large size, and it was not big enough.
No.
So we need a white plastic room in the Science Center just for smashing things.
A clean room, if you will.
Yes.
So that would be a dirty room.
I like the phrase. We need to have a dirty room.
We'll build a room with stainless steel walls so that we can just spray it down and sanitize it. Yes. And then, people go in and smash stuff.
So this is like the keep out sphere. So does anybody know what they mean by keep out sphere?
You're not allowed to go inside that sphere except for when you are, doing a launch.
So I'm guessing that's too close to make adjustments to not run into the solar panels and the station.
I don't think it's not too close to make adjustments. It's like the first time I drove a zero-turn mower, my goal was to stay 30 feet away from a fence, the plastic fence out at Waterway. And the guy that was teaching me said, look, whatever you do, don't get within 30 feet of the fence. So I took off and I drove around a little bit and I was headed toward the fence, and it didn't matter what I could do. I ran into the fence, even though I was trying to stop 30 feet from the fence. I think that keep out zone is like telling somebody, don't get within 500 feet of the fence and hoping they can figure out how to stop it. Right. Because 30 feet was too close for me and I ran into the fence, and I can show you exactly where I hit it because that pole is broken where I ran into the fence. So I think it's just,
So we have a comment here from Philip Anderson. Says, I'm a musician by natural born talent as well as coding. I mean, there's a lot of science in music and audio and how our brains process that, and how instruments work and all types of stuff there.
And even the how our brains react to why we like certain things over others, and why certain things have that stupid nagging way of getting caught in your head, even if yeah.
Which sounds have which frequencies, and why you can take two different instruments and portray the same frequency, but it doesn't sound quite the same.
So Clint, you started learning how to play the cello. You started teaching yourself through the University of, actually the Academy of YouTube Music. What did you learn from that that's helped you in your job?
It wasn't so much to help with my career as it was just something that I was able to engage my brain learning a new skill that had nothing to do with anything I had ever learned before. So it was a truly new field for me to look at. And that was kind of the goal there, was just something that I could look at, fresh eyes, have no idea what's going on. And most importantly, it had nothing to do with anything else. So there was no chance of getting, if I was frustrated with something, it was just, I'm going to stop working on this and I'm going to go do this. And there's no cross-contamination.
So it helped you get your mind off of it. Open a new channel of outlet.
Yes.
Did you?
And there's a common concept. I'm not a programmer at work, but I have coded before. And there's a common concept in programming it's literally called rubber duck programming. And what you do is you take a rubber ducky, like a bathtub toy, and you set it next to your monitor. And when you have a problem that you are you're running into, you explain the problem to the rubber duck. And the idea is that you disengage your brain, you switch into an explanation mode, and oftentimes just by talking through and thinking about the problem a different way, you figure out the solution.
Yeah, Clint and I have been in IT and troubleshooting issues for 10, 15 years now, something like that. And a lot of times I would walk up to Clint and say, Clint, I've got this issue. I'm just doing that. And I talk myself through it. I'm like, okay, never mind. And Clint just sits there the whole time, doesn't say a word. And he's like, glad I could help.
That is my trademark. When people figure out stuff while they're talking to me, I'm glad I could be of service. Well, I think traffic has about died down here enough for me to get back. Well, find something to eat before getting back to the hotel. So.
Well, thanks for showing us the rocket's red flare glare. I forget the exact. Yeah, there we go. And I know that it was just so out of your way to want to drive down to Florida and want to see these rocket launches. So but thank you regardless for streaming that for us.
So is everybody down there wearing masks? Let's talk about a COVID thing.
Yeah, so at the Kennedy Space Center, masks are required. So the only time you're allowed to not have a mask on is when you're eating. And I think I saw out of the whole time maybe 2 people outside of the food area that didn't have masks on. So that was, very, very high compliance numbers there. Out and about in general, I would say that greater than 60% of people have masks on. This truck here is getting ready to move.
So the police show up. Just have him stay there. That's pretty good. You look good there.
But yeah, in general, I know Florida has been a bit of a hot spot lately. I don't know what their numbers look like right now. I don't know what their stuff looks like, but there's not been a whole lot of social distancing from what I can tell. And part of it is just, these type of events here, it's very hard to social distance because there's just not a lot of room for all the people.
There's not 6 feet for everybody.
Right. And the elderly gentleman that I mentioned earlier, he and his daughter sat down next to me in front of or before the first video. And he about 3 minutes later realized that they were sitting too close and started kind of getting agitated and saying that they needed to move. So some people are paying more attention than others.
Now you're in a hotel. Did you take 2 cans of Lysol and spray your sheets down and everything in the room, or did you just sort of go on and be happy?
The hotel, it's a Hilton property, and they have their COVID stuff published on the internet. You can read what they do. They have done things like shut down the continental breakfast. So you can go to the front desk and you can get prepackaged like muffins or danishes or that kind of thing for breakfast. Yeah, you have the option. You always have the option, but they're really heavily pushing you to skip room service or housekeeping while you're staying. Yeah, this is the first time I've stayed in a hotel since the pandemic started, so I really have no way of comparing it to anywhere else.
Was it weird?
It's a little weird. There's definitely a lot more emphasis on online interactions and doing stuff over the phone and through email and that kind of thing.
I know that talking about hotels, my husband travels for a living, and he says that most of the country is doing similar things, that they're prepackaged breakfast, but the breakfast buffets are shut down. But most of them have their COVID rules published so that you can read.
Yeah.
The whole point of San Jose is that great breakfast. It's just darn it.
Yeah, I picked up I got a recommendation from a local on a restaurant last night, and picked up a to-go dinner order. And it was a place called the Dixie Crossroads, I believe is the name of the restaurant. And I ordered my dinner, and it wasn't terribly expensive. And I went and parked, and as I was walking to the front door, I saw 2 high-end Teslas and a Corvette, and went, "Oh, this is a fancy place. Like, I guess this is where you want to get food here."
So, did the Tesla win the drag race?
They were all in the parking lot. So
I'm going to put my money on the Tesla.
Well, depends on how far it is.
Torque, acceleration counts and everything in a drag race.
Yeah. Well, some of the Teslas have a governor on them, so they have a top speed. So.
Oh yeah, when I purchase one, I'm going to have to take that feature away.
Becca just wrote, I read that the United States pays Russia $90 million for each astronaut that rides on a Soyuz mission. Now you guys will start to save some money.
Yes,
I believe that sounds right. Yeah.
yes, that's about right. And they are in negotiations to start trading. That we will allow them to simply launch a Russian astronaut with us in exchange for putting an American up without the money trade. But those negotiations are still underway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Philip Anderson had said, I just lost my job in aerospace. I watched as all of being was being shut, all of it was being shut down. Cadence Aerospace and Collins Aerospace. I could not find one person who suffered COVID. I'm not saying it isn't real. It's very real in many different ways. I'm just saying that this has completely crippled the American people, including myself. I never saw unemployment or COVID. Wow.
Yeah.
That puts it in perspective a little bit.
Yeah, I found out yesterday a family member was diagnosed with COVID. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
It's-
teach.
it's tough.
Well, my dad, it didn't. He had it. He was probably going to die anyway, but it most assuredly
Yeah.
hastened it. And that's it hits close to home.
Well-
Wear your masks.
Yes, I teach at NY. I have 4 students who have lost family members to it, and 3 of those family members were under the age of 30.
Yeah, and I have a brother who he has had to stop working, I think 3 times so far, because he was exposed to someone who was diagnosed with COVID and wasn't allowed to work until he got a negative test. And so he's been out of work a lot this year just because of the requirements to, well, if you've been exposed, you have to have a negative test before you can come back.
We've had people here at Explore Scientific, that have been exposed, and until they get a negative test, they're done for 10 to 14 days, and it's painful.
I taught
Yeah.
from home for 14 days because I was exposed to someone who was exposed.
And the thing about it is, the whole point of it is the science behind it is flatten the curve so that the hospitals don't get overwhelmed. And everything you're hearing right now, especially in Arkansas, is that, the hospital wards are getting full. And, this surge that we're seeing in the fall is, we've got to start,
Well, it's
staying
going to be
home.
science that gets us out of this.
Sir?
It's going to be science that gets us out of this,
Yes.
with the vaccinations that are on deck right now, and they're looking, it's looking positive so far. So, so I'm looking forward to wide distribution of a successful vaccine.
Yeah. But, on that note, coming down here, I was very, very cautious. I didn't want to get it into a situation where I'm the super spreader, in an event. So, coming down here, I didn't interact with anybody at all. Going back, I'm not gonna interact with many people going back. Try to do it in as few stops as possible, that type of thing.
And you are in a environmentally contained vehicle.
Yeah.
He's in a
There's been a
Tesla.
lot of sitting in this seat.
They're comfortable though.
It is true.
What does your shirt say? Occupy
Occupy Mars.
Mars.
Occupy Mars. It's my political shirt.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Any
Well,
other thoughts, you guys?
All right, this was fun. I think we ought to do more live events.
I definitely want to do one in February for the Mars landing.
You guys
So,
need?
Clint, can you get your Tesla to Mars and be ready to welcome them to the planet?
I'll get right on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Scott.
All right. Well, you guys are welcome. Thank you. Thanks to everybody that watched the program today. We were simulcasting on YouTube, in NWA.Space, Explore Scientific's Facebook page, Twitch, Twitter. So we had a lot of circulation, and you were on Cloudy Nights, on the homepage of Cloudy Nights. So.
Awesome.
Okay.
We'll be interested to see what the numbers we get look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. All right.
And
Well,
we'll do it better next time.
yeah. Have a safe trip back home, Clint. Thanks for broadcasting all the way from Kennedy Space Center. Thank you.
Hey, Scott, thank you for setting us up when we ran into technical difficulties. Thank you for being our backup quarterback.
Take care.
Yep.
All right.
See y'all.